Today, we're going to talk about impossibilities, and I don't mean things that might not have happened. I'm talking about things that absolutely could not be done. It's Tinfoil Tuesday.
So if you like exposing truth and dropping truth bombs, then welcome to Tinfoil Tuesday.
I want the truth. Well, a big Shazam to you people. I love Tinfoil Tuesday because it gives all of us, including me, a chance to reevaluate and to hopefully open our minds and learn some stuff. And I'm going to even say unlearn is the big one for today. Unlearn things we've been taught should be a fun one. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again right now. We should all be carrying everywhere, and Hidden Hybrid Holsters allows you to do that, not just securely, not just safely, but also comfortably all day. Tell them I sent you when you jump over to hiddenhybridholsters.com. You people, thanks for a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Appreciate y'all. The response to yesterday's video was very strong. I appreciate that. A lot of folks have reached out. I'm going to use a superlative. I'm going to say it was the most positive comments I have ever had. And y'all are always amazing. I always get flooded in every day. I read every comment, flooded in with mostly positive comments. And there was a few jackwagons last week because people were upset. But last night was wildly popular, and I just sitting down this morning going through them with my coffee. It was refreshing, and I think a lot of folks are in a similar place to where I'm at sitting at this table today. I said the word a minute ago, unlearn. We were taught wrong, and from kindergarten forward, and we may talk about the education on another day, but we were taught very, very wrong. One thing is that And we have to lean into an unlearning of this stuff. But one thing that we were taught is that we started with caveman and we made it to us. And now today we are the great technological society that hurls guys to the moon. And it's very, very not true. Over the last year, and especially this year, the last 6 months, I've been deep diving ancient technology, and it gets really interesting. It's a lot of fun. And, they taught us that the people that follow the mainstream or of the mainstream mindset is that a principle called Clovis first, that's like Indian arrowheads, is that hunter-gatherers eventually figured out agriculture. They eventually figured out how to have enough food so that other people in their people group could go to war or to work on science or to do things that are exploratory or to build great structures. And it looks like definitively that's not true, not remotely true. In fact, we are not the most technologically advanced, and I'm going to show you that here in just a minute in a very unsexy way. And that's part of the problem is we tend to gravitate towards the sexy things. I don't even have notes in front of me right now, but I do like having things around me that are kind of cool, and I end up moving towards and gravitating towards. When I think in my private studies, I think a lot about aliens and Bigfoot and UFOs and fun sort of stuff. Kash Patel and Pam Bondi both came into office the same week. However, Pam Bondi happens to be hot, a smoke show, at least in comparison to Kash Patel and his big eyes. And we made memes about both of them, but I'm going to suggest, because I work in the meme world, how I even ended up here, I don't know, but I work professionally in the meme world, and I would say the Pam Bondi to Kash Patel memes were 20-1, and I'm going to suggest, I think he's more interesting. She's a current dumpster fire, even the stuff she said this morning, dumpster fire. She's talking about hindering free speech. I may deal with that tomorrow. Because he's more interesting, but we make more memes about her because she's fun to look at. Now, there is an event that happened. You can call it the Younger Dryas theory. You're going to hear that repeatedly, but it is the Noahic flood. Noah's flood happened. And even if you don't believe the Bible, you can go the science route. Science now believes it and has been proven repeatedly 12,500 years ago, give or take, I don't get caught up in the numbers, that the entire earth was wiped out and nothing was left. And when we go back and look at everything that was back there, again, we gravitate towards the cool stuff. Egypt is wild. I've not done a lot of stuff on Egypt with y'all, but I do something in Egypt probably 7 days a week. Already this morning, I'm listening to a podcast, a 12-year-old podcast on Egypt technology, and it looks like very clear and with definity that the pre-flood tech is beyond huge and good. And there is so many impossibilities that we literally can't do today. Let me give you some examples. You can look at the stones that are in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza on the Giza Plateau, and we have no idea how they moved those stones. We have no idea how they quarried those stones. We have no idea how they moved them 1,000 miles and then how they lifted them up in the air. People that work in moving things today professionally with hydraulics and diesel have no idea how they moved them. They said, yeah, maybe we could lift them, but we certainly couldn't put them into place. You go down to, I think it's in Peru. I'm not 100% sure. I'll put it here on the screen, and look at the 11-sided stone. We have no idea how they did it, how they quarried it, how they put them together. We can't do it today. We don't have the math or the technology, and electricity, diesel, and all of the ways that we move things cannot be done. So you have you got these stones called the Baalbek stones that are too big. We have no idea how they quarried them, and we can't do it. Charlton Heston messed everything up for everybody. I'm talking about things that we learn as children and these massive assumptions that we have. We all have been taught and shown through Charlton Heston's movie, no disrespect to the 10 Commandments, but big disrespect to a whole bunch of guys wearing towels with ropes, dragging those stones around. And we get to the word called smoking gun. And this idea of a smoking gun is you see something, you're like, okay, there's a lot more there. And it looks, again, definitively like the pre-flood tech was not just better than what we have today, an impossibility for today. And there's so many examples of this. And you get to this idea of Göbekli Tepe, and some of y'all have studied that in Turkey, and they unearth this thing. It might be, not 100%, but it might be Noah's altar that he built. And for whatever reason, somebody covered it up over the ages, but they find Göbekli Tepe, and they can date Göbekli Tepe very accurately. I don't know how many, I think 30,000 years or something like that. The timeline gets crazy, but it's definitely pre-flood. It's definitely things that we can't do today, and back to the big stones and the big impossibilities. It looks like definitively again that the Egyptians didn't build the big stuff. They built a lot of other stuff, but it was all done crappier and worse. And they have these columns that are there that are 100 tons, and they were actually turned on a lathe. How did they turn those stones on a lathe? And you got all this big stuff that's a lot of fun. You have big impossibilities that's big fun. You got the stuff that the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Inca probably inherited, and they found it and then built their civilization through the ruins. Certainly the Egyptians did the same thing. They found ruins, or however they did it, they ended up building on top of or around, and they became part of that. And if you ask any Egyptian archaeologist, they'll say, we did that. They didn't do it. And then we get to the least sexy thing at all of all of this, the Egyptian vases. And that's the heart of today's episode. You have these vessels, and I've known about these vessels for years, and I know I've read a lot about them and watched podcasts and listened to stuff, and I thought people knew about it. And several times over the last couple of weeks, I've asked folks about the Egyptian vases, and they're like, what are you talking about? The short version is this. I'm not an archaeologist, and I'm not a lathist or whatever works on a lathe. They're perfect. That is the short version, is they are perfect. They're made out of materials like dolomite and alabaster and things that cannot be replicated today. We have literally no idea how they were made, but it gets deeper than that. They're perfect. The symmetry and the levelness and everything about them are literally flawless. We cannot make them today. Some of them have necks that come up and they've been hollowed out on the inside. We have no idea how they did that. They can't be turned on a lathe because most of them have handles, and the handles are not just perfectly symmetrical in every axis. They're flawless. They are flawless on different levels, but down to something like 1/100th of a human hair. I'm not good with small sizes, but they get having to talk in units of microns to explain how perfect they are. And they're everywhere in Egypt. And the Egyptians say they made them. They didn't make them. They are found huddled with people in shallow fetal position graves, and they're holding a vessel that they didn't make. All of the other tools around them are made out of copper or wood, and therein is a problem with Egypt. Egypt lived in the Copper Age. Copper can't cut anything. The Egyptians did nothing. The vases are an impossibility. The vases are not sexy. The vases are something wild I want to encourage you to chase because they are the smoking gun. It looks like there was a civilization and a society and a people group, and we can get into pre-Adamic stuff and antediluvian stuff. That's kind of fun. But for certain, pre-flood, they had tech that is wildly better than what we have now. There are multiple writings that talk about flying ships and Atlantean stuff, and y'all have heard all of that. I want to end with two things. First, I want to remind you that this is an entire people group. And yeah, we can go into other ideas. There's folks, Logan and I were talking the other night, that maybe the lizard people made the vases and made the pyramids and that. And there's some evidence of that maybe reptilian beings did it. I don't know. It's kind of fun. So first, I want to say this, that it's an entire society and people group. They have more than just stones and rocks and dolomite vases. That's all, this is important, that's all that's left from the flood. All of their textiles are gone. All their music is gone. All their language, their lore, their tradition, everything about them, what they ate and how they traveled and how they fought and all of their writings, if they wrote on paper, we don't know. But whatever they did, it was huge, vast, and multi-layered. And all we have left because of the flood is some rocks and some dolomite, and that's it. But what we do have, last time I'm going to say it, is an impossibility. Finally, in my last point, if you're interested in this, I don't know how to say his name, but I'll put it right there on the screen. There was an episode on Rogan a couple weeks ago that deep dives a lot about the vases and some pre-flood technology, and it's really good. A lot of folks don't have time for a 3-hour podcast. I listen to multiple a week, but I do it while I drive. And I want to send you that. There'll be that direction. There'll be a link down here. If it's on YouTube, I hadn't looked. I listen to it over on Spotify. But chase that. We're talking about impossibilities. I said it again. And pre-flood technology that surpasses everything. I open with the idea of unlearning. These boring vases will unlock something in your brain and send you down a pathway that could change things for you. It's Tinfoil Tuesday.
Welcome to Tinfoil Tuesday. We hope you sing along.
You want answers? Diabetes.